here tonight, but the 49ers part of it is leaking all over the internet. We're going to talk about that. We got 49ers beat writer beef. We're going to talk about that. Plus, Brock Purdy threw out the first pitch at a Giants game yesterday. How did it go? Okay. We'll get to all that and more on today's show. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Stats and Cohn. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. He is Grant Cohn. Happy Wednesday. Happy schedule day, Grant.
Happy schedule day. It's a day where news comes out in May, which is really a gift from the gods for all of us. So thank you, NFL.
100%. And I love it. I can't wait for it. The primetime portion of the 49ers schedule has basically all but leaked already. So we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about the beef that you have with one David Lombardi. I want to get into that. Brock Purdy threw out the first pitch at a Giants game. I am amazed that this keeps happening with first pitches. So we'll talk about all of that. But let's get to the schedule thing first and foremost, because that's the biggest news of the day. Obviously, I've seen a lot of things floating around. I've talked to some people that I know, and from what I have been able to ascertain, the things that we are seeing online are pretty much true. So let's dive into some of them. The primetime schedule, Grant, for the 49ers in 2024 is basically out. You've got week 1, the Jets, we knew. That's Monday Night Football. Week 6 in Seattle on Thursday Night Football. Okay, great. Week 8 against the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football, just like last year. We know how that went. Week 13 in Buffalo on Sunday Night Football. Week 15 against the Rams on Thursday. Again, remember, you can play 2 Thursday Night Football games now. And week 17 against the Lions will be Monday Night Football, according to at Nerdington NFL.
At Nerdington NFL. Good to know. Well, I mean, if all teams are perfectly healthy, I'm looking at maybe 2 losses. How many losses are you looking at there? I'm looking at 2 that I would pick as losses, even if teams are fully healthy.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say maybe 3. If you can get out of that with 2 losses in the primetime games, I would sign for that right now. Absolutely.
Which 2 are the losses?
I would have said Buffalo, but they have lost a lot of talent this offseason. I know Josh Allen is really good. I could see Aaron Rodgers and the Jets beating the 49ers in week 1. Full strength Aaron Rodgers, right? That Jets defense is really good. I'm fascinated to see the Sauce Gardner-Brandon Ayuk matchup. Like, specifically, if Ayuk hasn't been paid, it's like, oh, you can get away from man coverage. You want to be at number 1? Go kick Sauce Gardner's ass in a primetime game on Monday Night Football. Like, I think the Jets are a bad matchup for the 49ers. I could see them losing that game. I think San Francisco will beat the Seahawks. I think they'll beat the Cowboys. I think they'll beat the Rams. I would say they'll probably lose to, I guess, Buffalo. Week 17 against the Lions, I don't know. That could be meaningless, that game. We don't know.
Could be. Although probably week 18 would be the meaningless one. But yeah, I'm thinking, I mean, they could sweep those games if they're healthy. But I guess that's kind of the theme today with the 49ers. Like, yeah, the way I look at it with them is they won 12 games last year. They didn't get better this offseason, but the schedule got tougher. So, and their core got older. And it's already a relatively old core by NFL standards. So, yes, on paper, you can make arguments for why they should win or why they should be favored in every single game this season. But it's going to be an interesting season. It's a tougher schedule for sure.
It's a crazy schedule. Like, there are games that are not even on this list that could be primetime games. Like 49ers Chiefs is not a primetime game. Now they put it on Sunday afternoon, which is like a sort of de facto primetime game. It's kind of like the standalone game in the afternoon window. But like that could have been primetime. There are so many juicy games on the 49ers schedule. 49ers Packers is not a primetime game. So their schedule this year is very difficult. But I disagree with the idea that the Mariners, excuse me, not have gotten better this offseason. Sorry, I got spaceball in the brain sometimes. Brock may get better this offseason. And even if you have some personnel losses, if your quarterback gets better, that may be enough to compensate.
Good point. That's a really good point. I'm saying, yeah, that's a great point. Save that. They didn't get better. Now, what the Niners would say is they didn't get much worse, and they were already really good. Sure, but the division got better. The conference got better. The schedule got tougher, and they won 12 games last year. So that means 5 losses. How many losses are they going to have this year before the schedule comes out and we can see like which are the tough weeks or when they have like back-to-back East Coast games, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So maybe scheduled losses. Just looking at the opponents, I feel like I don't think they're going to sweep the division this season. Let's start there. Are they going to sweep the division this season? I don't think so.
I try to be, when I'm doing these, especially because I like to bet the over-unders, the win totals for the year, I like to be as conservative as possible.
Sure.
So I'm going to say they split the games against the Rams. They split the games against the Seahawks. I think they'll still beat Arizona twice.
That's interesting. I'm actually going to lean towards them splitting with Arizona and beating Seattle twice, simply because of the quarterbacks. And I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is really good, but there's no evidence of that yet. But that's where I'm leaning.
I will say, and I said this last year too, like the Cardinals don't have a train wreck as a coach. Like Cliff Kingsbury didn't know what the hell he was doing. Jonathan Gannon is not an idiot as a head coach. So the Cardinals games are going to feel a little different. Kyler Murray can still beat you because he's still athletically a freak, but I'm so down on him. Like the fact that they had to put the homework clause in the contract has just skewed my perception of him so much that I don't know. I'm still down.
That's fair. I'm wondering, he kind of strikes me as similar to Baker Mayfield, who didn't seem so focused on his career early on and then got humbled. And last year seemed like he was kind of the mature veteran that he needed to be. And I wonder if Kyler can do that too, since he's kind of gotten written off by this point too. So we'll see. I mean, I'm not guaranteeing that the Cardinals take a game from the Niners this year, but I think they certainly could. So that's 2 potential losses. And then the rest of their schedule, I mean, they got the Chiefs, they got the Bills, they got the Lions, they got the Packers. Like those are 6 real tough games right there that you could conceivably, pick as losses right now for the 49ers and say, this is a really good team that could go 11-6 this year, or worse, depending on Trent Williams and Debo. I think that's a big question with the 49ers. Like, we're not really worried. McCaffrey's played a full season. Ayuk, Kittle, Purdy. What about Trent Williams and Debo? Because they don't play full seasons. They just don't. So the question is, how many games are they going to miss? How many?
I think that was part of the Pearsall pick was we know Debo's not going to be here. By the way, Last Second Sports says Bills in mid-December, not easy. Yeah, I don't love that. Would have liked to play them early in the year. Ant-Man Felix, YouTube channel member, says A-Rod ain't beating San Francisco. Here's the thing. In the regular season, Aaron Rodgers is 6-3 against the 49ers. So he does beat them in the regular season. Now, I know in the playoffs he's 0-4, and that's fair. But in the regular season, and the last time we saw Aaron Rodgers, which was, I believe, on a Monday night, he drove down the field at the end of the game and beat the 49ers. In fact, he hasn't lost in a Monday Night Football game in a decade.
Interesting. And what was interesting about that game, it was DeMeco Ryans, I believe, 3rd game as defensive coordinator. And he took a lot of heat after that game. How come you let Aaron Rodgers go down the field in 20 seconds? Like, how did that happen? Is he really ready to be a defensive coordinator on a team with Super Bowl aspirations? He improved so quickly, and now he's a really, really good coach. But this will be Nick Sorensen's first game as a defensive coordinator in the NFL. He's going against Aaron Rodgers. How's that going to go?
Yeah.
Good call.
We fired DeMeco Ryans after the first drive of every game, I felt like, because the other team would go down the field and get points, and people would be like, "Brr, brr, DeMeco Ryans," and then they wouldn't score like the rest of the game. Everybody would forget about it. Yeah,
he was so good. He was like a boxer who sort of sizes you up in the first round, almost concedes the round, and then just destroys you the rest of the fight.
So I forgot that they had changed the rule. So on today's 49ers in 5, I apologize. I misspoke. I said 5 was the maximum primetime games you can have. That's not true, because now they're letting you play an extra Thursday night game. You can have more than 5. So I was wrong about that. I just wanted to correct that on the record. Last year, the Niners had the biggest rest disparity of any team in the NFL by a lot. It wasn't even close. And they still got to the Super Bowl, which is a credit to them. But I want to see this year what is the rest disparity situation like? Because I kind of feel like the NFL, they kind of owe them a little bit. And right away, week 1, Monday Night Football, week 2, short week. Like, damn it. Here we go again.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. They also have like the 5th most travel miles. Is that correct? That's what I've read.
I haven't seen that part of it yet.
Yeah, it's 5th most travel miles. And it just seems like you're always going to be in the top 5 if you play out here on the West Coast because all those trips are so far. Even Denver's far from here.
Last year they had
travel miles.
What is that?
Yeah. 5th most travel miles. I'm trying to get it for you. So we got the Chargers with the most, then the Dolphins, then the Seahawks, and the Patriots, and the Niners, then the Rams, then the Raiders this year. Total mileage is almost 25,000.
Man,
miles.
Last year, the Niners had the 2nd most. The Seahawks had the most. The Niners were at 2nd most. They had the 2nd most travel miles last year and the biggest rest disparity last year and still finished with the number 1 seed and still got to the Super Bowl. It was an incredible year last year.
You know what's big news for the Niners?
What?
No London trip.
Yes. Why is that such a big deal?
I mean, who needed more travel on top of what they already have? Like, they already are 5th most. They're already at like 25,000 miles nearly. Add on another. No, I'm sure they were real happy they don't have to go to London.
I don't like when they go international. Football players, athletes in general are creatures of habit. I feel like that's a big disruption. I don't like it.
The Mexico City one was fun. I'll say if you're going to go anywhere, go to Mexico City. There's actual Niner fans there. It was a lot of fun.
Clickbait Motorsports says Brock Purdy can barely handle water falling down from the sky. Now imagine snow in the cold weather of Buffalo. I don't know how Brock plays in the cold. He hasn't really had to face like one of those like Lambeau,
like Tua has.
The Colin Kaepernick. Remember when Kaepernick went to Lambeau and went sleeveless and won the game? Like, we haven't seen Brock in the cold. He doesn't do well in the rain. I don't know how he does in the cold. I don't know how many cold weather games he played at in Iowa State.
It'd be nice to find out. I would imagine he played in a few. It seems like, I don't know a whole lot about Iowa out there, but it seems like they got cold and they got corn. So I think he should be prepared.
I don't know how many corn games Brock Purdy has played in. Jesse Naylor's back says 9 home games is good. Let's see if they have an early bye. Yeah, that's the other part of the schedule that I feel like is important, especially for this team. I mean, they were crawling towards bye weeks last year. Like, they couldn't wait to they were desperate for a bye week because they were so tired. Let's say this year when it is.
I mean, if Trent and Debo play 17 games each, this team could win 14, 15 games. If those guys miss 5 games each, this team could go 9-8. I think it so much depends on those 2 guys. And I guess to your point, that's why they drafted Ricky Pearsall. Would have been nice if they had drafted an offensive tackle too, just in case. But you know what? It's cool because they got Chris Hubbard and Jalen Moore.
Jalen Moore, yeah. John Lynch talking up Jalen Moore in the presser was like, my God.
It's all good.
Richard Stanway, YouTube channel member, says, Rob, say hello to Richard and Joe from the UK. Big fans of the show. Listen every day. One of the best days of my life was visiting Levi's in December of 2022, especially when Jimmy had to be replaced by Brock. Wow, man.
Yeah, I remember that.
One of the best days of my life was going to Levi's last year. I was at that Cowboys game. It was my first 49ers game, my first NFL game. It was electric at Levi's. It was a beatdown, and I hope it repeats this year.
This day is an important day in 49ers franchise history. It's the day that Brock Purdy took the job from Jimmy Garoppolo and asserted himself as the franchise quarterback. What's interesting about this day, if you go back and look, first thing in the morning, Ian Rappaport comes out with a report. Do you remember what it was?
No.
Before the game, that the Niners have been so impressed with Jimmy Garoppolo that they are considering giving him an extension.
Oh,
look it up. Look it up. That happened that day. But of course, they knew that Brock was better than him. They knew it.
Yeah. I mean, if there's a 49er fan out there that doesn't acknowledge the absolute luck of this whole situation, like, you're just not objectively looking at the reality. Brock Purdy never sees the light of day if 2 quarterbacks in front of him don't get hurt. We have to acknowledge that.
Yeah. So, hey, it's a good story.
You know what? I'm never rooting for anyone to get hurt, but I am grateful that by some way Brock Purdy got to play, because clearly he has been the best quarterback Kyle has ever had in San Francisco.
Well, Jimmy was sort of like always. I mean, he was an injury waiting to happen. But here's my question. Let's say he doesn't get injured that day against the Dolphins and he makes it through the season and the Niners give him that extension, would he still be playing for them right now? Like we saw he crashed and burned with the Raiders, but it seemed like the Niners always propped him up pretty well. I guess we don't have to. We'll never know. We'll never know. We'll never know.
It might, if they kept winning. That's the thing. It seemed like it
They
didn't
won
matter
with him.
to Jimmy.
Yeah.
If they won, he was fine. And they seemed to, I mean, they won a lot of the games that he friggin' played in despite him. So he might be. I know that Jimmy thinks if he didn't tear his ACL, he'd still be in San Francisco. I mean, he told Kyle Posey that at the Super Bowl this year. So
which seems to mean that the Niners can win lots of games, more games than they lose, with the 35th best quarterback in the league. That's interesting. It's very interesting. Something about.
We can transition to that now if you want, because Jared Goff obviously got the bag this week from the Lions. And, you know, the way it works with these contracts, the big numbers get announced so that the agents can look good. And then we actually get the nitty gritty of the contract and we dig in and we see what the real numbers look like. When you actually get past all the puffery in the contract, Jared Goff's going to get about $47.1 million per year, $113.6 million fully guaranteed signing with $148 million practical guarantees. And the first 3 years of the contract are basically like locked in, lock, stock, and barrel. So I ask you, Grant, $47 million a year for Brock. You signing it?
No, that's a lot of money. It's too much. 40 is so like what gets it up to 55 million is what, void years or something?
Yeah, it is. I don't know how they, you know, calculate all of it, but Florio has the breakdown on PFT on Pro Football Talk. I trust him implicitly after working with him for a long time.
Sure.
He said basically 47.1 million per year.
Okay. No, that's too much. And I think that's way too much for Jared Goff too. I think that was a bad move for the Lions. And I think it would be a bad move for the Niners. And I know they're going to do it, but boy, that's way too much money for a quarterback who isn't elite. I mean, that's elite quarterback money. And I know that good quarterbacks make that much money too. Look at Kirk Cousins' entire career, but you're not going to win a Super Bowl giving that much money to someone in the Kirk Cousins tier. You're just not. And I think there's any number of evidence. I mean, all the evidence points to that. If you're going to spend all that money, you have to have a guy who's top 6, 7 in the league. And some people think that Brock Purdy is. I don't. Maybe the Niners do. But I guess we'll find out. They couldn't win a Super Bowl with him making $900K. Now they're going to win a Super Bowl with him making $47-something million. I'm skeptical.
Well, it's certainly harder. No argument there, but it's not impossible. Like, it's not like if you don't win a Super Bowl with Brock now, you can never win one. Like, no, what it requires is one, you have to be awesome at your drafting, and two, your quarterback's got to be better. He has to be a better player than he was when he got there on the rookie contract. And those two things, it's tough. I'm not going to pretend like it's not, but it's not impossible.
No, but like when he starts making the big bucks, like when his cap hits are just incredibly large, $50-60 million in years 2027, 2028, Christian McCaffrey will be gone and there won't be an expensive replacement. George Kittle will be gone and there won't be an expensive replacement. Debo will be gone and Trent Williams will be gone. Like it'll be a whole different thing. Ayuk might still be here. It could be Purdy and Ayuk and a bunch of guys on rookie contracts against the world. And that's sort of what you got to make do with. Like, that's what the Chiefs have. They have Mahomes and Kelsey and an all-pro left guard, and then the rest is interchangeable. They do the best they can because that's the reality of the salary cap. Sorry.
You can have a few. You can't have as many as the 49ers have right now. Remember what Jed York said, quote, whether I like it or not, that's what the market is. You have to accept the reality of the world. To me, the quarterback's the most important position, not just in football, but in all of sports. These guys should be paid a lot of money. 49ers have no secret of the fact that they're willing to pay Brock. And I actually really like the fact, Grant, that they can't pay him this year. Because I think if they could pay him right now, they would. And I like the fact that we have a whole other year before we can do anything. Let's just play it out. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how Brock develops. If he develops, let's see if he stays healthy. Let's see how he does in the rain. Let's just give me another year of information before I have to commit $47 million a year.
Yeah, absolutely. Because this is the same team that made Jimmy Garoppolo the highest paid quarterback player in the league after 5 starts with them and 7 starts total. They're just over eager to say that they have the guy. And I think the jury's still out on that one. Is he the guy? Maybe. I mean, he's great for them right now. He's great for them as the team is currently constructed. But if you give him this contract, the team will be way different not that long from now. And is he the kind of guy who can really carry a team, who can really overcome a team that has serious weaknesses? Like last year when you took away Debo and Trent, he struggled. Big time. So yeah, it's great that they have another year to look and see what they have with this guy. They need it.
He was fine without Debo as a rookie, which is, interesting. I think we don't look at those games as much, but like they still count. He did okay with Debo as a rookie. I think it was the combination of not having Trent, not having Debo, and also playing some really good defenses at the same time that I think is the reason why you saw the 49ers struggle like they did.
You know what I want to see from Brock? I think this is a fair point. I'm not trying to be a hater. Before paying Brock, whatever it's going to be, 35, 45, 55 million, I'd like to see him play at least one game, maybe two, without McCaffrey. What's that look like? Because McCaffrey's not going to be here forever. He's a very unique talent. He's very good. And he, frankly, is the focal point of the defensive game plan. There's a lot of 8-man boxes. You know what I mean? Like Brock gets to really leverage McCaffrey's threat with play action passes against to Ayuk when he's one-on-one. So I'd like to see what it looks like when you don't have McCaffrey on. We saw that with Jimmy. I'd like to see it with Purdy.
Look at the Lions, right? They just signed Goff to this deal. Ben Johnson, their offensive coordinator, is probably going to become a head coach after the year. He's probably going to leave. So it's like, you really want to be locked into Jared Goff without this guy who's a genius at calling plays? Like, that's a scary thing. But these teams, they don't look at it like that. I get what you're saying, because clearly McCaffrey is a huge part of this offense. But I mean, what's your sample that you're going to look at? Let's say he does play a game or two. Call it 2 games without McCaffrey. One game he's good, one game he's not.
That's true. What are you going to do? Yeah. And it does seem like teams these days, they'll give out the big mega contract to a quarterback. And then if it doesn't work out, they'll get rid of him and take the dead cap hit and move on. Like the Eagles did it with Carson Wentz. It seems like they'd rather do that than trade a quarterback and have nothing.
And right? Carolina 9 says Brock Purdy's getting paid. Kyle Shanahan wants quarterbacks that run the system well. Like I said, I think if they could do it right now, the 49ers would. If he has a bad year or gets hurt, I don't know. I'm interested to see how they play that out. That's why I thought maybe they would draft a quarterback late this year. Though they didn't do that. I know they have, what's his name? Mordecai as an undrafted free agent. I don't know. Maybe there's something there. Who knows? At this point, I can't ever discount a quarterback since they're currently starting the last pick in the draft. But I know one thing, Grant. If you have to go by first pitches, I don't know that Brock Purdy is getting $47 million a year. Brock threw out the first pitch at the Giants game last night, and it was a little off target.
Yeah, we got to watch this. I mean, it's safe to say he's never going to be a pitcher in the majors. Looks good so far. That's a wild pitch. And I like that how he hits the glove at the end. Like, oh, darn it. That's on national television. That's too bad. Okay.
First of all, let's break this down a little. Why does he have a glove? Was he expecting a comebacker? Like, what do you need the glove for, Brock?
Oh, man. So, okay, yeah, let's break it down. He doesn't get a lot of extension on his throw. He clearly isn't trying to put much on it. Would you call this a fastball? You can't call this a fastball. This is like a change up, maybe a circle change. Gets away from, doesn't finish it, releases a little bit high and behind him. He doesn't look like a pitcher to me. I'm saying I know that he played a couple years of high school baseball, but this to me looks like a second baseman who's on the mound for the first time.
People do not understand how different it is when you throw off a mound versus throwing on flat ground. Like KMBR had the video of him warming up somewhere before the game. He's on flat ground. It's a totally different thing. That warm up is not doing you any favors, Brock. So I just think
you got to get on the mound. Because if you notice with major league pitchers, when they finish their pitch, they're usually like bent forward. Their back is usually bent parallel with the ground, and they're completely extended towards they're not finishing here with this, they're finishing forward That's how a pitcher does it. And also it's funny if you go back 10 years ago and watch when Colin Kaepernick did this, he threw 87 miles an hour. That guy got drafted as a pitcher. So it was kind of, I mean, yeah, Brock Purdy, better quarterback than Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick, better pitcher than Brock Purdy.
I was actually going to point that out. That's the best first pitch by a 49ers player, period, I think I've ever seen. He ripped it. And you could tell the person catching it was like, whoa, not expecting that, because usually they don't throw those first pitches out like that. You know, I was thinking about this morning. The 49ers have had like a real weird mix of quarterbacks. You had Colin Kaepernick, whose physical skills and abilities were off the charts, like his measurables, his 40-yard dash, his velocity. He set the combine record for hardest throw at the combine. Like he could spin the damn ball.
He was drafted by the Cubs. Like he was a two-sport athlete. As a kid in high school, he got way more attention as a pitcher than as a quarterback.
First player, I think, in college football history to have 10,000 passing yards and 4,000 rushing yards. Like unbelievable physical skills.
But and the first 2 seasons of his career in the NFL were really, really good.
But he didn't seem to have the mental processing ability that Brock Purdy has. And I'm not trying to say this as like, oh, the dog whistle for black quarterbacks. Like the mental side of Kaepernick's game is not on the same level as Brock Purdy, in part because, and Kaepernick said this, so I'm not speaking out of turn. Kaepernick said, I'm not much into watching the film. I'm not much into watching my own throwing motion. He made those comments. So I'm not like, this is not me trying to like stick up for the white quarterback. So please don't take it that way. But then you've got Brock Purdy, who has all the processing power, able to read a defense, all that stuff. But the physical part of his game, the velocity on the throws, the running speed, all that stuff, it's like the complete opposite of Kaepernick.
Sure. It'd be interesting to see what would have happened to Kaepernick's career if the Niners hadn't ran off Harbaugh. Would Harbaugh have replaced Colin Kaepernick? It seemed like he believed in Kaepernick, and it seemed like he got the most out of Kaepernick. It'd be interesting. Like, what if the Niners fired Kyle Shanahan and brought in Jim Tomsula to be the coach? Like, what would Brock Purdy look like in that situation? You know what I mean? But
I would have loved to see Kaepernick with Shanahan, honestly. Like, I thought that would be fascinating. Just put him back there, let him just rip the friggin' ball all over the place. Then he could take off and run if he needed to. I would have liked to see it over friggin' Brian Hoyer in 2017.
Yeah, I agree. It just seemed like the way Kyle has constructed his system here, there's so many short little throws, and there's so few throws that require velocity and arm strength that Kyle wouldn't want them. And didn't want him.
Didn't want him. Yeah. I mean, we
yeah.
Corey Soto says, I'm going to be an iconoclast and say the 49ers will not win a Lombardi next year. They'll be drafting a quarterback in the first round. So Corey thinks that things are going to go horribly off the rails for the 49ers, because not only are they not going to win the Super Bowl, they're going to be drafting a quarterback in the first round. I assume they're going to have to be reasonably high up in the draft in order to. Corey's predicting a terrible year this year.
I think the only way that happens is if there are injuries, which of course could happen to any team. If Brock goes down, they could lose a lot of games. If Trent goes down, they could lose a lot of games. But I think Brock, I'm not saying he's elite. I'll push back on that, but I think he's too good with this roster to crash and burn.
Yeah, I don't see it. There's too much talent on this team from a coaching staff perspective, from a player personnel perspective. I don't think that they're going to crash and burn. Now, are they going to get back to the Super Bowl? I don't know. But then, there's a huge gulf in between those two things. And I think the 49ers more than likely end up somewhere in there. I heard Steve Young on 95.7 The Game yesterday, Grant, talk about how basically if the 49ers were ever going to win a Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan and this crew, last year was the year to do it because other teams were down. You were the number one seed, yada, yada, yada. But just because they didn't win it last year doesn't mean they can't win it this year.
That's true. It's just interesting to hear it come out of Steve Young's mouth. Like, yeah, it really was a good opportunity for the Niners, considering no one really thought much of the Chiefs last year. If you go back and remember the regular season, the conversation around the Chiefs were, boy, they're kind of sleepwalking through this, and Travis Kelce's washed. Like, does he care about football still, or is he more concerned about Taylor Swift? Or, none of that mattered. But it seemed like if there was ever a time to beat the Chiefs, it was last year. And now, like the Ravens seem like they give the Niners even more trouble. Like we'll see how they do against Josh Allen. They have a real tough time against quarterbacks who can get out and scramble. That's one of the big reasons they lost the Super Bowl. I don't know. It just seems like it's getting tougher and tougher. They got to face the Packers again. Kyler Murray's back and he has Marvin Harrison Jr. It's a tough year. We'll see.
You're like digging the grave already.
I don't know. It just feels like last year was such a good year to win it. They had the lead in overtime. All they had to do was cover Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Like, who caught the final? Was it Mecole Hardman?
I think it was Mecole Hardman. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's not even on a team right now. Mecole Hardman.
They had that freaking corn dog play, man. That play is deadly. When you're that close to the goal line and you go in motion to the left one side, and then as soon as the ball is snapped, you just break right to the other side, right as the defender is like starts to move in the opposite direction. That is if Kyle doesn't steal that play, like holy hell.
Ricky Pearsall, we got to play for you. Jacob Cowing,
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I think they wanted more comfort in their wide receiver room because they do think Debo is going to go down at some point. And Juwan Jennings might be cool as a third receiver, as a third down guy. Great. But he doesn't scare anybody. Sorry, he just doesn't. I love him, but that's the truth. So they wanted somebody that could potentially put a little fear into opposing defenses.
That's true. And it's like, it's not that he doesn't necessarily scare you. It's like he's very specific in how he's used. He runs a 4-7. He lines up in the slot. If Debo goes down, you can't really move him to outside and say, go run Debo's routes. It's not really what Jennings does. He does his thing really well. So you need a guy like Pearsall or Cowing who can do both. And that's what I keep saying about him, right?
Kyle said that last year. I can't remember. It was after the Packers game at some point. I think maybe he told one of the broadcast crews. He was like, look, we had a whole game plan devised for Debo in that Packers game. Debo goes down, and I had a whole bunch of plays in the game plan that I can't run now because Debo's there, which is essentially the way of saying we don't have anybody that can replace him and do the things that he does. And so I think they want to
slap in the face to Ray McLeod. Sorry, Ray.
That's why he's so bitter. That's why he's with Willie Snead.
Yeah, it's like, why did you sign Ray? I thought that was literally Ray's job, like to be the understudy for Debo in case Debo goes down, because Debo's going down.
Well, maybe, but then they actually got to see Ray McLeod up close and personal, and they were like, "Oh yeah, this guy sucks."
Okay, well hold on. I don't need to defend Ray, but it seemed like anytime they gave him the ball in the gadget play on offense, it was a good play. But just off the top of my head, reverses, jet sweeps, I thought he actually ran him harder than Debo.
He had like one or two good plays, but I mean, his primary job.
How many attempts did they even give him on the team? Right? I think he had like one. He had 150. Who cares? Let's stop talking about Ray McLeod right now. How about that?
He broke one against Washington for a touchdown, and Kyle
something like that.
It was nice to run that play where the whole defense doesn't shift, which is kind of poo-pooing Ray McLeod.
Hold on. So he ran 7 times with the 49ers and averaged 15.4 yards per rush. I'm just saying. But he did have a 71-yard run.
Right. So how much is that propping up the rest of the attempts?
Last year he had 3 carries for 30 yards. I think they should have gave him the ball more. But anyway,
not that. Joe Crowell says, really unfair to compare Brock to a true athlete like Colin Kaepernick. The kid looks like an accountant. He's trying his best. Brock is not unathletic, though. That's the thing. Brock is a decent athlete. Like, he does look like an accountant, to be fair, but he's not unathletic. We've seen him move. We've seen him use his legs. We've seen him scramble. Colin Kaepernick was a freak of freak athletes. That's the difference.
I love how you would take this comment completely seriously. Like, this is a hilarious comment. The kid looks like an accountant. He's trying his best. It's pretty funny. I thought it was funny.
Best. He does.
He's Jake from State Farm.
Andre says junior accountant.
He's Brock from State Farm. He needs to get the State Farm sponsorship. I mean, come on. His agent is not doing his job. He needs the State Farm sponsorship. Are you kidding?
Hey, Brock, what are you wearing right now? Khakis.
Yeah, exactly. That's him.
Did you see the picture of him that came out on social media with the antlers the other day?
No.
It is the most, like, here's the thing. He's not shying away from it, right? Like, some of this he kind of does to himself. Now, whatever. He's being himself. That's who he is. It's fine. But man, sometimes you're just like, Brock, come on, you know how this is gonna play. There you go. He and his wife Jenna put out a picture. He's
Oh, like he's the GOAT?
way. He's got the antlers on, but look at what he's got, the jeans with the brown belt, like the old man belt, the tucked shirt, and he's got just like these, generic like sneakers on. It's just like that's
I
Brock.
want to like Brock Purdy, and then he tucks in his polo to his jeans. I'm like, oh my God. I'm sorry. I know, like, I've met Brock Purdy. I know Brock Purdy. I've talked to him. He's cool. He seems like the kind of guy I would have liked if we were at the same age and we were in. Am I here?
You're here.
Yeah, man. Tucking your shirt in. You can't tuck your shirt in like that. That's just a no-no. I'm
Andre,
sorry.
I saw that outfit on a mannequin at Kohl's. He does kind of give off, him and Kirk Cousins give off the Kohl's Cash vibe.
I mean, I feel like, did you know kids in high school that would dress like that with just like a little too formal for a kid? Because he still comes across. It's like, why? Who are you trying to impress? Do you think you're gonna get an A in this class because you tuck your shirt in? I always bug me. Like, what is that?
NBH says he dresses better than you two clowns.
Yes, he does.
First of all, Grant's wearing a suit jacket right now. So, like, what are we talking about?
But I didn't tuck it in. I didn't tuck my shirt in.
I think that honestly is part of the reason why people don't look at Brock in a different way. They're like, 7th round pick, and look at this guy. This guy can't be good. He doesn't have a strong arm, and look how he dresses. He can't be good.
But hold on though. But I feel like he dresses differently in different settings. Like sometimes when he's at home with the family or when he's on the tractor, he'll break out the cowboy boots and he'll tuck in his shirt. And it's like, I don't know who he's trying to appeal to at that time, like maybe his fans or something. But then when he's in the locker room or when he's at the press conference in the middle of the week, he comes out with that little backwards hat. Like he's like frat Brock. It's a whole different Brock. Or then after a loss, he's real serious and he has the hat forward and he's like, there are different Brocks. We're just getting to know all the Brocks, and it's very interesting.
Was he going to break out Blue Steel this year? La Tigra?
He's got Middle American Brock, Arizona Brock,
Frat Boy Brock,
Frat Boy Brock, after a loss Brock, after a win Brock.
Brocktavius says that's drip, that's not drip. Sorry, he is.
It's just can you show it again? Can we talk about all the things that are wrong with this outfit? I'm sorry. If you're going to get $47 million a year, we're going to have to talk about how you throw out first pitches and how you dress in the offseason. It's important.
There it is.
Just, the bunching around the shoes doesn't look great. I mean, I don't really like the cut of the jeans, to be honest. I mean,
man, that's who he is. And you know what? Say what you want. He's got a gorgeous wife. He's making a ton of money. He's the quarterback of the 49ers. It's working for him.
Like, what are those? He's wearing like really big sunglasses in the shade. I don't know.
Why are the antlers there? That's what I want to know. He's holding up like half an antler, and his wife is holding up the other half.
That's fine. They want to pose together. That's really cute. Kind of have matching luggage. That's also kind of cute. But I don't know, man. I feel like he needs to get better jeans. First of all, he needs to get like some 512s. What do you wear? What kind of Levi's do you? I like 512s. I would go 512s. Although he's got some big legs, I don't know if he can fit 512s. It might be too slim.
But I do think that's part of the reason why, like, he doesn't fake it. And I think that's part of the reason why people like him. Like, you could say he's a geek or nerd or whatever, but he's authentic. He's not like pretending to be a geek and then like really like, being a hard ass. Like, no, this is just who he is. And I think that's part of the reason why guys like it, because they say, at least this guy's not trying to BS anybody.
It's refreshing too, because I feel like the last few Niner quarterbacks were like really into being, they both seem like male models, honestly. Frankly, Jimmy and Cap both are like, you know what? Football's cool, but I'm gorgeous. I really like, this is better. And like Trey Lance was kind of going down that route too. It's like, you know what? Football's cool, but it's hard and I'm really good looking and women's gonna like me. So I kind of found something else. Brock is just, he kind of is like Drew Brees in that way. He kind of is like Peyton Manning in that way. Just kind of dorky, kind of relatable, like not a male model, not bad looking, but just I mean, I feel like most great quarterbacks have a dorkiness to them. Like they're older than they act older than they are. They don't seem to party. They're really serious. Like Brock has all that.
Because it's a hard fucking job. Okay. Like
You can't be that and a male model and an actor. You
You
can't.
don't have time to focus on that other crap because you're trying to learn the game plan. You got to learn not only what you have to do, you got to learn what everybody else has to do. You got to learn what the defense is going to do. You don't have time to focus on that other stuff. You know, I used to be, I know it's going to be hard for a lot of people to believe. I used to be cooler than I am now. You want to know why I'm not as cool? Because I have 2 kids. Okay. I don't have time to focus on the new movies or the new music that's out there or any of the new fads or trends. I can't do any of that stuff because I'm trying to keep 2 tiny human beings alive. This is the same thing when you become a quarterback, especially when you're like a franchise guy. Everything has to be devoted to getting better so you don't have time for other stuff. Dating porn stars, working on your fit as you walk into the locker room. No time for it. And that's Brock.
Yeah, and I think that's why Niner fans, why he resonates so much with Niner fans. It feels like very refreshing. They got their hopes up big time with Kaepernick and Jimmy, and it didn't work out with either of them. And I think they had certain things in common. Like they were just a little too handsome. And then Trey comes along, and he's real handsome too, and it doesn't work out with him. And it's like, Brock, you are just so regular, like wonderful, just like Drew Brees. Like, I'm not saying he's not good looking. He's just kind of regular. He's not Jared Goff. Like Jared Goff kind of has that Eli Manning face, just like, oh God, man, like we got to root for you. I don't know, Jared, but Brock's a handsome guy.
Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo was a really.
Let's spend the next 10 minutes just ranking quarterbacks based on their looks. Let's do that.
That is peak.
I think that would be good content.
Says headed to the Super Bowl. Brock looked good though, suited. I bet when he gets paid, he'll be more dapper. I don't think so. I don't think his look is going to change at all when he has money now.
If it does, will you be disappointed if he starts dressing in like Armani suits? Will you be disappointed?
A little bit. But like he has all this endorsement.
Listen to your fans, Brock. Listen to you got an image to uphold. You better not stop shopping at Kohl's. Okay, that's important for you.
Kohl's Cash, baby.
But can you really pull off that like, oh shucks, I shop at JCPenney when everyone knows you make $50 million a year? I don't think you can, man.
Here's the thing. People are weird about their money and what they spend it on. Even people that have a lot of money, like LeBron James. I thought I heard a story where like LeBron James doesn't pay for roaming on his phone, or like when he's roaming, like he won't use his phone. Everybody has their thing, whatever it is, whatever you see spending money on is good and bad. And sometimes it'll surprise you.
One thing with athletes a lot is like they get paid a lot of money, of course, but they also are the kind of people that expect, not always, but expect things for free. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm at a restaurant. Oh yeah. Oh, you recognize me. Yeah, I'm that guy from that team. How about I get this meal for the price of on the house? And sometimes they're like surprised when they don't get that treatment. It's part of being a hero.
Brock doesn't strike me as that guy though.
I don't think so either. Nah, man. Brock's got sponsorships, but he's got all the corn he needs, dude. Are you kidding me? He doesn't need free meals.
It does seem like the more money you have, the less money you need. Like people tend to give you stuff for free, the more money you have, which doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Harris says Brock dresses like a dad. He absolutely does dress like a dad. See, look, Cynthia, Jimmy G was fine. That's what people remember about Jimmy Garoppolo. The 5 o'clock shadow, the big smile.
Yeah, I mean, life is it's like be a male model and have a really easy life. Work with Kyle Shanahan. It's like, I'll do this half the year. Leave me alone the other half of the year. I don't like you.
Did you ever watch the show 30 Rock?
Yes.
There's an episode of 30 Rock where Tina Fey's character dates John Hamm, who of course is incredibly handsome. And the whole bit about John Hamm's character is that he's so good looking. Like everything just works out for him. He's an absolute moron, but he's so good looking that everybody kind of excuses it away. And Tina Fey has to explain to him at one point, like, dude, you live in a bubble. You don't live in the world that the rest of us live in because you are so good looking. You don't know how it works for the rest of us. And I feel like with Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe he was in that bubble a little bit. Mr. I don't answer my phone in the off season, right?
I probably would have too. Let's go back and give Jimmy a little bit of grace. He's a really, really handsome guy. He's Derek Zoolander at quarterback. He gets picked by the Patriots to be Tom Brady's heir apparent. That's heady stuff. Then he goes to the Niners, has instant success, becomes super duper wealthy without proving anything at like 26. Yeah, how do you not become half male model, half quarterback at that point? I would. Who knows? I might have went full porn star. Who knows? Can I not? I'm just kidding. I'm just saying, like, you might have lost track of your priorities at that point. Everything in life just came to you so easily. Like, you could do anything.
And at that point, you kind of can. And I've said this, like, I don't begrudge Jimmy Garoppolo because he wasn't, all about football 24/7 for all the reasons you just laid out. Not everybody in the NFL is like that. Football is a job to these people. Most people in regular life don't have their job be their entire identity 24/7, 365. So we can't always expect football players to have that mentality. But I will say, I want my quarterback to be one of those 24/7 grinders. So I'm very, very happy that Brock Purdy appears to be that when he's not going on antler vacations in his Coles outfit.
Okay, so the biggest difference between Brock and Jimmy, Brock answers his phone. Brock learned the system and is eager to learn it. He doesn't have a passive aggressive relationship with the coach. He makes way less money for now, and he's mobile. But when it comes to actually throwing the football, they're both second basemen. Said what I said. Said what I said.
Jimmy's
it's okay, though. Second basemen need love, too.
Yeah. Jimmy's arm was weird. He could throw sidearm and fit it into a lot of spaces. It wasn't the strongest arm in the world, though. I agree with you.
Yeah, a nice little flip throw from second base. You can make it without putting. Neither one really gets much lower body torque into their throws. I mean, it's a little efficient throw. Works for the system. That's all they need.
Jesse Naylor says Brock cares to get better. That's the biggest difference. That pretty much sums it up nicely.
Yeah, but people thought that Jimmy cared to get better before he got paid. I mean, everyone thinks players care to get better before they get paid. Then they got $120 million waiting for them. What's it going to be guaranteed? How much is he going to get guaranteed? Tell me again.
Goff's practical guarantee was 148.6.
148.6. So he's going to get $150 million guaranteed, and then we'll see. I mean, I expect him to stay relatively the same, but wow, 150.
Yeah, that's certainly a lot. Before we go, Grant, I can't let you off the hook without asking what's going on with you and David Lombardi, because all of a sudden I'm seeing tweets from you calling him out for things that he said, for not admitting when he was wrong. What happened that sparked this beef?
Okay, so I feel like with me and David, we would mostly just leave each other alone. And sometimes when I would like tweet at him, it would just be like busting chops. That's the way I kind of saw it. We're obviously on other opposite ends of the spectrum. We leave each other alone, let each other do our jobs and bust chops. Although he's not a chop buster. He's a very straight-laced kind of a guy. But I'm a chop buster. So I didn't really mind when he would take little shots at me without saying my name. But I saw after the rookie minicamp, he went on his little video and said, like, basically, make sure you get your news from trusted, reputable sources, as in don't watch me. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. So that felt like too far. And it's like, as long as you want to talk about trusted and reputable, like, yeah, I can be negative sometimes. And maybe I'm wrong sometimes because I try to balance out my negativity and positivity. But like, you're only praising. So why don't we go back and talk about the times when you said Jimmy Garoppolo is better than Aaron Rodgers and really made fun of fans who said you were wrong about that. Like, if we really want to talk about trusted and reputable, I'm not right all the time. You say you are. And you're right by saying the Niners are right all the time. So I just think it's fun to point that out as long as we're going there. I didn't want to go there. And he's never going to ever engage. I'm sure he muted me years ago. And when we see each other in the press box, it'll be hey, how you doing? But trusted and reputable. What? Huh?
And this,
what are you talking about?
Correct me if I'm wrong. This stems from Ricky Pearsall.
Ricky Pearsall. I put him in the not so good section simply because he didn't catch any passes. I didn't say he's a bad player or a bad day. I was just like, they tried to get him the ball. It didn't work out. He had to drop. I mean, you know me. I'm always going to put a guy in the not so good section for that. But he got really upset about it. He was like, no, Ricky had a great day. Like, Maybe. I mean, I guess. Like, say, why? Tell me why you feel that way. But instead of saying why he felt Ricky had a great day, he just attacked me and said I had no credibility. It's like, well, okay, the Niners are going to sign an offensive tackle in a couple of days, and within an hour, you're going to say it's a great signing, and then that happened.
This is the
so I don't know.
This is the frustrating part for me. And I feel like I can say this because I consumed your content before I became a 49ers content creator, and especially as someone living in Connecticut that follows this team and loves this team. I'm not there, right? So I read everyone who was there. What are they saying about what happened? You say Ricky Pearsall did not have a great day. David says that's not true at all. And I'm just like, I just want to know what actually happened. I've got two completely different reports about the same thing. I just want the truth, Grant.
Well, I think you got two different conclusions about the day. And that's fairly common with these practices. But what's nice is if before you get the conclusion from a journalist, you also get some description. Here's why I'm making my conclusion. These are the reps I saw. These were the critical moments that I'm judging. And I feel like I do that. Larry Krueger does that. And any good journalist does that. And when you just say, this happened, trust me, bro, you've gotten a little too, like, well, come on. That doesn't, you can't do that. Sorry.
You two
Not when there's 7 other people who are there actually describing what's going on.
You two are the spectrum. I feel like you're the not extremes, but you're the opposite ends of the 49ers coverage debate. I think
I resent that. I keep getting like, I resent that. Like he'll say stuff like, oh, he'll do his whole, super positivity routine, and people say, well, he's just the opposite end of the coin as you. Like, no, like I will praise this team all the time. I will do it. Happy to do it. He won't criticize his team. There's a difference.
That is true.
I'm wrong sometimes because I try to do both, but he only does one. It's kind of a safe way to go about things. So I would say that we're not opposites. Opposite would me being, oh, the Niners signed an offensive tackle. He sucks. I don't even know who he is. He sucks. Like, I don't do that.
I agree.
That's whack.
You do both. And I have seen you do shows all about the things you were wrong about. That is a huge difference. That is completely fair. I think most 49er fans see it as Grant's negative, Lombardi's positive.
Simple as that.
Right. Because they only remember the negative stuff. And I know this because I criticize the team a lot, and people say the same thing about me, even though I also praise the team a hell of a lot too.
And they don't remember the things that you praised that were wrong. They'd only remember the things that you critiqued that were wrong. And that comes with the territory. You got to be courageous enough to live with that. Otherwise, you'll never have an opinion. And
I mean, if we're talking about reputable sources, to me, if you only ever say one side of things, ever, you can't be reputable, because every team makes mistakes. Every team screws stuff up. Every coach does. Every player does. Every content creator does. If you can never acknowledge that, then you're not living in reality. And that's a problem.
So I'm not trying to beef with Lombardi, and I'm not trying to bully him, but I feel like he did start it by bringing up trusted and reputable. And all I'm trying to do is sort of pressure him to critique the team one time. And I'd like other people to do it too. Like when the Niners sign a guy and within an hour, he's going to tell you all the reasons why it's a great signing. Like one time, David, one time, something you didn't quite love that the Niners did. If he could do that, it would be good for his career. I'm trying to help him.
And the question is, why won't he? Like if you sat Kyle Shanahan down or John Lynch or anybody with the 49ers and said, name something you messed up, they wouldn't be like, I've never messed up anything in my life. Kyle Shanahan said at a press conference, I failed Trey Lance. Like, and this is Kyle, who, he's pretty protective of what his decisions are. Like, we all can admit mistakes. And if you won't, it's like, why won't you ever do this?
And not even that. Like, it's easy to go back in retrospect and be like, well, they shouldn't have drafted Joe Williams. They shouldn't have. Like, you could do that. There's nothing at stake there. How about they sign a guy, they make a trade, they draft a player, and your instant reaction is, I don't get this one. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Like a really good organization. This one is a head scratcher to me. And here's the reason why I'm not thrilled about this move. One freaking time. Not like, because every time it's like, you know what? I just ran the numbers. Actually, I know this guy really intimately. And I ran the numbers. Turns out he's phenomenal. He's great. And now he's on the 49. It's like every time. That was the Chris Hubbard thing yesterday. It was like, oh, it turns out he was one of the, he was ranked 51st out of 86, blah, 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 PFF. And he's like really the best swing tackle you could ask for. He's played like 400 snaps the last 4 years. Is he the best swing tackle you could ask for because of a PFF grade that you don't quite, yeah. So that as long as we're talking about trusted and reputable, like I think there should be a little bit of pushback from the fan base. Like, cool, thank you for gassing up this team relentlessly. You do a great job of gassing them up. But one thing that wasn't so great one time.
And I agree. Like, look, there are times when I want to be sort of pumped up a little bit, right? I fully get that. There are, but there are also times when I want people to keep it real. And if I can't trust the things that you're saying, that they're actually grounded in reality, then you have no value to me, which is
right.
It's so crazy to me, Grant, because I really like a lot of the stuff that he does with Barrows, and they do those profiles at the end of the year on all the positions. Like, I like a lot of the work that Lombardi does, but there's so much of it out there that is just like, where the bleep did this come from? That it's frustrating as a fan, to be honest with you.
It just feels a little lazy. Like he's kind of slipped into, well, Grant said this, so Grant's wrong. It's like, okay, don't just be anti-me. Like, go to practice and say what you saw and come to your conclusions. Don't just be like, I heard so-and-so didn't like Ricky Pearsall today. He's wrong. He was great. And don't listen to that. It's like, that's weak. It's just weak.
Here's what I want to know. Is there going to be a schism now in the 49ers press box? Is there going to be like Team Grant and Team Lombardi?
I guarantee there isn't ever going to be a Team Grant in the Niners press box. That's not going to happen. So, yeah, I don't know. It probably was going to be on his side, acting me like why I had to make this a thing. All right. Hey, if David wants to talk about it, we can talk about it too.
I would.
That was not cool what he did. End of story. I never would do that to him. Don't watch. Even now, I'm not saying don't watch David Lombardi. Don't consume his content. Go watch his content and ask him politely, please, David, critique the team one time. I cordially invite you to.
Have you asked him to come on your channel?
Yes, I did. During the, I was like December. We were there covering a game. We had some time to kill. He was going in and out. I was going in and out. I was like, David, let's go to lunch. We hung out. He paid for lunch. I owe him lunch. And by the end, I was like, hey, man, it'd be really fun if we did one show one time. And he said, yeah, let me think about it. So I think that was a California no. Fine. Too bad. It would be a lot of fun.
He gave you to let me think about it?
Yeah. He said, oh, yeah, let me get back to you on that. I think it would be good. I wouldn't even have to be contentious. I think it would be great for it would just be great. I think it would be phenomenal. It's too bad. Oh, well. I don't think it's going to happen now.
Ask him again. I can moderate it. I will volunteer to be the moderator in this debate. And you guys can keep it strictly to the issues. Chris Hubbard, he can talk about why he thinks it's good. I can talk about, or you can talk about why he thinks it's bad.
I don't have an opinion on Chris Hubbard. Can I just say that? Like, who the hell is Chris Hubbard? He's a guy who's 33 who was available in mid-May. I'm sure he's great. I don't have an opinion on Chris Hubbard. The fact that someone could always have a strong opinion and it's good immediately on new players is just impressive. So,
DB says, Grant, I hate you, but love you, but hate you, but love you.
Thank you.
That's how it should
be. That's what I'm going for.
Yes. Yeah. If you are doing your job as someone that has a platform and a microphone, that's how it should be. I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's anyone who's like, I agree with Grant 100% of the time. I don't think that person exists. Because even me, like, I change my mind on issues frequently. So I think it's more of I think I provide people a place to start the conversation. Okay, Grant said this. Even for guys like David. Okay, Grant said this. Do I agree? He made a good point. He's freaking out of his mind this time. Let's talk about it.
Right. And the best compliment that I have ever gotten, and I've gotten it a couple of times, and I'm so grateful every time I get it, is when people say to me, I don't always agree with you, but I still listen. I still like to hear it. A lot of times I don't agree with you, but I want to hear what you have to say. That to me is the biggest compliment you could give me, because of course you're not always going to agree with me. But if you can listen to something you don't agree with and at least hear me out, I feel like that is the best thing. That is exactly what I'm going for.
Yeah, and if you're predictable, you're boring, and you can be predictable in praise, and you can be predictable in criticism. And I have to work not to be a caricature of myself. Sometimes I can slip into that, like a lot of times people want to hear me roast the team. Like, okay, I'll do it if it's merited sometimes, but not every day, not for the sake of it. And that's something I have to work on. So I'm not infallible here. I think me and David both have who we are and like our personas. And sometimes we got to make sure not to slip too far into our personas. Does that make
My
sense?
real name. Yeah, I totally agree with you. My real name says one thing Grant can do that the other can't is
Fernando.
I think that's just about as good a
I
place.
still don't remember the context of why I did that the first time, but it'll never go away.
Yeah, I don't even know of like a Fernando related to the 49ers in any way.
No, there's a Guerrero. I hope he becomes good. I want to sing that after games when he has touchdowns. Guerrero. Please, Isaac.
Give me just one long Isaac Guerrero touchdown run, even if it's only in the preseason. We need it, Isaac, for the brand, as they say.
Please, Isaac. We're all pulling for you. Come on.
All right, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. The schedule comes out later tonight. Levin Black and I are going to be live to do a full reaction show to the schedule because I'm a big nerd and I love when the schedule comes out. Please join us for that. Like and subscribe to the channel. Click the bell so you get notified when we go live. Like and subscribe to Grant's channel as well. Like you haven't already done that. Let's be honest. Grant, you'll be live tonight as well?
Yeah, going live at 6 o'clock with Last Second Sports, Jesse Naylor, who's been active in the comment section today, really carrying it. Although, there's been a lot of good contributions. It's been a great. There he is. No, that's not him, but that's Guerrero. I'm telling you, there's a lot of potential there. A lot of potential there. Does ABBA still are they still alive? The singers of ABBA? Maybe they could come and perform halftime for the 49ers in honor of Isaac Guerrero and sing that song. Please.
All 4 members of ABBA are still relatively active.
Let's go. 3. Opportunity.
Yes. God. Enjoy your Wednesday, everybody. We'll talk to you a little bit later tonight.